Hello Facebook viewers, this is Ara Najarian, candidate for Glendale City Council. We have an election on April 4th, and as I promised you, that I will be addressing the public on issues that are important to the community. And one of the hottest issues, at least in the last few months, have been the Aloft Hotel and how that development enabled and obtained its entitlements. But first I've got to give you a little background. The Aloft Hotel proposal is on North Brand Boulevard at the intersection of Dryden. And on North Brand Boulevard, if you know, starting from Glen Oaks going forward, we've got the Hilton Hotel, we've got the Trader Joe's and the CVS Pharmacy, we've got the Holy Redeemer School, we've got a few churches, we've got restaurants, office buildings. At the end of the block, as you approach Stalker, there's a 100-foot condominium complex, there's a 5-story office building, there's a library, and an active fire station right there. So that gives the essential makeup of the area. It's one of the widest streets in Glendale. North Brand, if you've been there, it's very wide with approximately 6 lanes of travel with diagonal parking. The site we're talking about at the corner of Brand and Dryden originally was a gas station and a car repair facility. It later became a restaurant and a nail salon. The restaurant was the Recess Restaurant, which eventually left that location. The owner decided to put plans forth to develop that property. That property immediately to the east is bounded by a 3-story apartment building and multi-tenant buildings surrounding it. The developer went to the planning department and proposed an 18-unit condominium complex with a ground floor family restaurant. It went through the process, and apparently the neighbors were not happy with that, came out against it. The discretionary action on the part of the zoning administrator and the planning administrator was to permit this to go forward with certain variances. The main variances were a setback from the front and the side, a driveway location, and if I'm not mistaken, a slight height addition. The neighbors came out vehemently and opposed it, despite the developer indicating that he felt this was the very most sensitive type of development in that area to continue a low-use residential. Nevertheless, the residents opposed it, and I watched that film, that video on our archives. The question to the residents was, what would you have the developer put there? And the answer, in no uncertain terms, was, let him build something that needs no variances. The developer indicated that there were a lot of other uses that could be put there that didn't need variances, but the residents said, build something with no variances. Rather than appeal the action to the city council, the developer went on his way with his architect and came up with the idea of a hotel. In this case, it's an Aloft branded hotel, one of the major hotel companies. He could have put in a gas station, a mini mart, and a car wash right on that corner. He could have also put in a 90-foot office tower or medical building, which would have had quite a lot of use. But instead, he chose the hotel. Now, the hotel needs no variances. It doesn't need one discretionary approval by the city council. Everything is by right and by code. As owner of that property, he's building it pursuant to our laws. Once someone proposes something, the city council can't not go back and change the zoning for that particular property. It just cannot be done. It will subject us to a lawsuit. Furthermore, the only issue that came before the city council then was to determine whether there was an environmental impact report required. Our planning staff, our professional planning staff, indicated to us in strong terms that there is no need for a separate environmental impact report because the impacts on the neighborhood would be a negative mitigated declaration. That means that the impacts were not severe enough to require an environmental impact report. So this came to the council. Do we want to require an EIR on this property? The answer that the council voted on by 4 council members, Councilman Sinanian, Councilman Garbetyan, Councilman Najarian, and Mayor Devine, Paula Devine, was no. We don't want to impose an EIR on this building when there is in fact no need for it. Residents obviously wanted to ask for the EIR, and it was our decision, about 4 of the council members, not to require an EIR. The neighborhood then, in disagreement with our action, decided to take this to court and ask for a judge to resolve the issue, and that's currently where it stands today. And my opinion is that clearly the 18-unit condominium would have been the very best for that location. The neighbors clearly voted that down. Are we now to fault the developer for doing exactly what the residents wanted? And that was to build something without any variances. That's the situation. We're going to see how it ends up. Brand Boulevard is not a residential street. There's a huge tower at one end. There's the Hilton Hotel on the other side. You've got a very heavily used school, the Incarnation School. You've got the very heavily trafficked Trader Joe's, which is just 100 feet or so away. And that's where we currently stand. There's a lot of disagreement on this, but for those that think the Aloft should have had an EIR, I would have to say that we disagree on that. For those who think that we should have changed the zoning before so a hotel could not be built there, well, we cannot do that. As much as perhaps the neighborhood would like that, we cannot force a developer out of an entitled zone where the laws on the books at the time he submits it are permitting that type of development. This concludes my version of the events leading up to the Aloft Hotel, and I hope to be with you perhaps one more time before Election Day, April 4th, and I hope you all have a very good weekend, and be sure to vote April 4th.